Hey, and good morning to everybody. Welcome to Frequently Answered Friday, where in the session, I get questions from agents just like yourself where they've come across certain scenarios. And these questions get sent to me throughout the week during one-on-ones and in my conversations. Now, the question that came to me, and I'm sure you've had this question before, the question was, Stuart, my commission is 6.5% plus VAT. Now, I've been speaking with my seller, and they're telling me there's another agency that's offering them a fixed rate or a low commission. What do I do? So the question is, how do I overcome the low commissions that are presented to sellers when I'm trying to get mandates? Well, this becomes an interesting conversation. And this is one where I've got some good tips up my sleeve that's going to help you to go through this in the best way. So the first thing is you need to remain calm when you're having these conversations with your sellers. It's pointless to go, what? Low commission? And start having that tone that goes into almost an anger level, because you're actually setting yourself up to not get the mandate. What you need to do is you need to communicate in a very efficient way. Ultimately, what you're wanting to do is you want to represent what values you have and make sure that you share that with your sellers. You see, the only reason why a seller will go with a low commission is because they don't truly understand the value that you offer. They only see, well, that's a lot of money that I'm going to be paying out. So you need to effectively communicate that through to your seller throughout the process. And if they start the conversation by saying, hey, but he's at X% or he's got a fixed fee, you need to have that conversation. And it starts out by understanding the seller's concerns. Ask them questions. Why is it so important to go with a fixed fee? Why is it so important to go with someone that's got that low commission? Understand those particular concerns. And through this particular journey, you're going to help to educate your sellers and represent your true value. So this is what I want to talk to you about. So the first one is when you're actually talking with your sellers, it's very important that you highlight your expertise. You see, you want to make sure that your seller understands your experience in real estate, or the experience of the people around you, or the experience of the agency. It's so important. The second part of that is your knowledge. You want to be at that point when a seller asks you a question, you can give them a fluid answer. You'll be able to tell them exactly what they require. And the last little component is your skills. Now, there's a number of skills that you need to get, and one of them is negotiation skills. You see, when a seller comes to you and says, oh, it's going to be a low commission or a low fixed fee, you can turn around to your seller and say, well, if I just accept the low commission, just imagine what I'm going to be doing with your buyers. If they want to offer a low value, I'm just going to accept it. I need to have those negotiation skills. So I'm going to negotiate on my commission, which means I'm going to represent you in the strongest manner, which means when I'm actually speaking with the buyer, I'm going to negotiate to get the highest amounts out. So that is the skill that then comes into it. The next part of it is to talk about your marketing plan. You see, with a lot of fixed fee and low commissions, they may have a marketing plan, but you can make it into an over-the-top marketing plan. And just bearing in mind, your integrity is at risk here if you share your marketing plan and you don't do it. That's the integrity loss that you could have. So make sure that you've got a marketing plan. Have it detailed out over 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever the purpose is, and really break it down to fine points, what you're going to do every single day, how you're going to represent that particular seller with their property. You see, this takes it to a whole new level when you sit down and have that communication with them. On the back of your marketing plan, it's not just the work that's going in, the admin, the marketing, etc. You can then add on your network. Now, your network are the individuals that you work with within the real estate industry. Now, that network could be accompanying agents from different agencies. It could be the agents within your agency. You see, your network is going to help you to sell the property quicker. And it's that network that you have to have in your back pocket. You see, as a real estate agent, our business is about building relationships, not only with buyers and sellers, but with other real estate agents. So make sure that you've got that network that you can present to your seller and say, well, here's my network. I can get hold of a couple of them right now to find out if they've got the buyers. But we need to work at that particular commission level. The next is, I've mentioned those negotiation skills. And really, I want to harp on this little point again, because you see, if you don't have that negotiation skills to get the price high, and I really wanted to feed back, it was sitting in the back of my head, when you negotiate at a higher price, what's actually going to happen is your commission is a percentage of that high price, which means you're going to earn more money. Now, this is where it actually comes in. You can do a mathematical example with your sellers. An agent that has no negotiation skills, possibly running with a fixed fee, possibly running with a very low percentage, will get a lower amount. You can actually do the equation where you say, Mr. Seller, if you got out X, at that X% commission or that fixed fee, this is what you will come out with. You can do the representation at, I'm actually working to get you the highest possible value. And if you get a higher possible value, your percentage commission, you could actually still come up with more money. And that's really the negotiation skills. That was sitting in the back of my head. And this is something that I've done a few times with my clients, especially when they've pushed it to fixed fees and low commissions. I sit and I go, let's example this. Let's break it down into examples. This is what I can do. And this is my track record that I've had with buyers in properties in this particular area. So that expertise comes into it. And I do these equations. And you start to have a look at this difference. If they get the property at X price to a buyer, take their commission off, Mr. Seller, in your pocket, you're going to get out X. But with myself and my track record, I'm working with prices that are slightly higher. Why? Because I'm more hands-on, my marketing plan, and I'm already pushing, get that commission, and you start to do those calculations, and you ultimately find that you could get the seller more money. And that, when you have those conversations with your seller, ultimately, they want more money. So that's part of the whole negotiations that you actually go through. Now, in order to do all of this, in order to get the negotiations, the marketing plan, to get those higher prices, ultimately, you're going to be offering what we refer to as a full service approach. This is not an approach whereby a buyer will do a website inquiry, set an appointment directly with the seller, and then the seller needs to do the agent's responsibilities of taking that buyer through the property, which means there's no negotiations, there's not much skills in that. And ultimately, that buyer has now got the opportunity to put the lowest amount into that property. So when you offer a full service, it means that you will be there from when that buyer arrives, get them pre-qualified, make sure the affordability is there, and take them through this journey. Getting to the point of when we get to negotiations on the price and they offer a lowball price, I will actually come up with the negotiations to get it up, giving them the supporting evidence to show properties that I've personally sold in this area or properties that have sold in this area are at that price to get them up. You see, that's a full service approach. It's not just take a mandate and wait for the leads. It means take a mandate, follow through with a full service approach of a full marketing plan, working with your network to get those buyers, to get the property at the highest potential price. So that is that full service approach that you're going to go through. And on top of that, Mr. Seller, and this is something you can do, full communication, full transparency. You see, this is one of the key components that I've come across with real estate agents. They don't communicate. When they don't communicate, ultimately the seller feels lost. And when a seller feels lost, they don't want to pay that high price of a service. And they've probably had a bad experience in the past. That is why they're going with the lower cost options, because they're not getting the service, they're not getting the value. So one of the big components is when you've got your full service approach, you need to communicate. Tell your seller, you know what, I will communicate with you every day if it's required, twice a week if it's required, once a week if it's required. You have that communication with your seller to find out how often you need to communicate with them. And you have full transparency. If there's been no inquiries, you tell them there's been no inquiries. If you've done the marketing plan and you've had 150 inquiries on the property, and of that 150, you've had every single one go through a pre-qualify and only 2 qualified, full transparency. Share that information to your seller so they can see what you're actually doing. Now, when you're rounding all of this up, what it actually starts to build inside of you is that you know what you're doing. You have market knowledge, not only about what sells and what the buyers are wanting, but also what the trends are in the actual market, what marketing techniques are working and what marketing techniques are not working. You see, that marketing knowledge or that market knowledge that you have, you're sharing that with your seller. And everything that I've spoken about all falls into that category of value. It's your value that you bring to your client. You see, the higher the value you bring, the higher the return on investment that that seller is going to get on their property. If you offer no value, you're not going to get a return of investment, Mr. Seller. So it has to have a high level of value. And everything that I've discussed with you today is really putting it to that level where your seller should be looking at you in a different light. They should see your value and they should understand exactly what you're going to be bringing to the table. They know you are the expert. They know and they trust you to sell their property and that you will do that. It's so, so important because, Mr. Seller, it's my track record. It's my integrity to you to get your home sold at the highest possible price in the shortest possible time. You see, that is how we focus our business. And that only way is with your value that you can give to your sellers. So as a quick recap, 1, make sure that when you're having the conversation, you don't blow your top and go, oh my gosh, another one of these low commissions. How can they even afford to survive? They're not making any money. You can't have that type of attitude. Respect what's been told to you and come back in an effective way to communicate. Share your value, share your expertise, your experience, your knowledge, your skills, the marketing plan that you're going to bring through, the network of people and agents that you have around, your negotiation skills. That's something that's very, very important. That full service approach from start to finish. Make sure that it's complete and make sure that you do it because that is your integrity. Your communication, it's backed by your integrity. If you say you're going to make a call, you make the call. That integrity is absolutely paramount. And your knowledge, by bringing all that together, is going to take you to a professional level where your seller will start to respect you. They will start to understand the value that you bring. And as I shared with you, that simple equation where you can show as examples of an amount less a low fixed fee, and what you can push for. Because this is really what you want to get for your sellers. You want to get them the most out, that best return on investment for them. That's what's so important. So I'm hoping that you've taken away a couple of good golden nuggets in today's session. Remember, when you're going up against the low fixed fees or the low commissions, it's not the end of the world. It's actually the start of your business, because this is how you truly become that expert in the industry, and your sellers will start to reflect on that with their referral network. They will speak to family and friends and say, hey, this agent, they're professional. They know what they're doing. And when you start getting that type of referral business, that repeat business will grow and grow and grow. Watch out what will come thereafter. You have a fantastic day further, and I cannot wait to have another session. So send me those questions. I'm looking forward to answering them in our sessions. So from myself, Stuart, you have a fantastic day further.